Hello, everyone, and welcome to another DCOA tutorial. Okay, DCOA stands for Drake Council on Aging, and I am Joan Turner, the resident artist at the Drake Council on Aging. And through the good grace of the Cultural Council of Drake and the Friends of the Drake Elderly, they have made possible these awesome tutorials. I'm looking at my hairs. I do this all the time. I should check it ahead of time, right? Okay, anyway, this is the one that we're going to do today. We're doing a series of 4 in June. And I think this one is coming out May 31st. And this is like May 25th. So you're getting it hot off the press, okay? So I call these Irena's Poppies because my girlfriend got married on Memorial Day weekend, and poppies were the theme. So I'm hoping that if this picture comes out as good as I want it to, I can give it to her as a present. Okay. So that means I'll have to get it done, give it to her before the Drake Access TV station actually airs this. So I'm going to give it my best shot. And as always, okay, you can go to the Drake Council on Aging and get an art pack or a craft pack, okay? And what is in there is paints and canvases and brushes and all kinds of good stuff. The marvelous, awesome people there, okay, are just, I'm a total fan. Since the day I met the director there, I have been a fan of hers and her staff. Staff is absolutely amazing. They've been amazing through the pandemic and even before, and certainly after. Okay, so absolutely give them a call. Even though the center is not yet reopened, the staff is in-house and will help you with whatever you need. If they cannot help you personally, they themselves, they know someone who can. They care about you, okay? And they're nice enough to allow me to share these tutorials with my friends at the GHAA, which is Greater Havel Arts Association, for which I do the bookkeeping, try to do the bookkeeping for them. And also BATV, which is Billerica Access TV, because Billerica is my old stomping grounds. I lived there for 30 years. Am I giving away my age? I lived there for a long time, let's put it that way, okay? So being able to share them with my friends and my graduating class maintains an ongoing Facebook page. So we know what each other is doing. We stay in touch. And so I'm able to share these with them, which is extremely cool. And it's very cool of Drake and Bethany. Okay, so thank you everyone, because you make such a difference in the world. Okay, so without further ado, you should have a big canvas like this. All right, if you don't have a big canvas like this, who cares? Okay, so I'm going to do it on a really big canvas, and you should have a big canvas in your DCOA art package. If you don't, and you have a smaller canvas and you want to work on it, work on a smaller canvas. You want to work on a board, work on a board. You can paint on just about anything your little heart desires because you are the creator. Isn't that nice? Nice to be in control sometimes. So I am going to work. This is a 16 by 20 canvas. You can work on any size canvas board, or piece of wood, whatever your heart desires. We are using acrylic paints. So wear paint clothes, because when the acrylic paint dries on your clothes, it becomes permanent. You can't even bleach those babies out. Okay, so you will want to, this picture should be in your art pack. If you are someone who is working with your own supplies, take a still of this picture, because this is what we're going to use for a resource or an inspiration. Okay, so I don't know who originally did this picture. I found it online. So we're going to do it our style, our way, and that'd be okay if it comes out different, because each one of us is unique. So the paints that you will need, all right, in all cases, you will need whites and blacks, okay? Whenever we do any artwork, we're going to use white paint, black paint, because sometimes we want to make darker shades, sometimes we want to make lighter shades. So you always want to have some black, some white, Okay, in this picture, we have yellow. Okay, so we need yellow paint. We are definitely going to need green paint because we have some greens in here. So I have some green paint. I also have some red paint. Okay, so these poppies are they're kind of orangey red. So if you mix red and yellow together, you get orange. All right, so if you have orange, fine, have orange. If you don't worry about it, baby, because we can mix red and yellow. We can put some yellow in our poppies. Okay. So the other thing that I have here is brown. Okay, you look really closely here, you're going to see that there's a little bit of brown going on in some of these centers. And we're going to mix a little bit of brown in our green. Get some really deep, earthy colors. Okay, so let me see where I put brushes. You're going to need brushes. Okay, in your art pack, you should have small, medium, and large brushes. And one of your smaller brushes should have a round head. This is a kind of a square head. This one's a round head. It's probably the smallest one, and we can use it for detail. And then you have one that's probably half this size that you can also use. Okay, so whatever brushes you have, just get them out, get them ready. Okay, my darlings? All right, so the other thing that you will need is many, many paper towels. Okay, rolls of paper towels, paper towel, paper, go through a lot of paper towels. So those I keep nearby. Water, okay? Water. You don't want to, if you're using one brush and then you switch to another brush, you don't want to just put it on your table or whatever, because if it dries with the paint in it, it ruins the brush. The same way it'll stay permanent on your clothes, on your brush, okay? So cover table and floor, anything you don't want to get paint on. If you're lucky enough to have an art room or an art studio, more power to you, and you don't have to worry so much about, the spillage, but most of us do have to. So I don't know if you can see my art table. There you can see my art table. It has lots and lots of paint on it, okay? So I'm lucky enough to have a space where, I can do my artwork. Okay, so did we cover it all? Okay, usually while I'm painting, I listen to music, but in order to keep the audio feed nice and clear, I have to just, I'll hum or sing or whatever. No, I won't, I'll behave. But I cannot go without my hot cocoa. So get your favorite beverage ready and let's go for it, babies. I am going to turn you so we're able to see the canvas is what I'm doing. Now, the hardest part of filming this is, first of all, I'm an artist, not necessarily a videographer. I'm getting better at it, I think, so that it's easier for me to paint with the canvas facing me. Okay, it's easier for you to see with the canvas, with the camera facing the canvas. So I learned that if I kind of go at a weird angle here, push this back a little. Wait a minute. So this is the get it right part, right? So it's such a large canvas. I wonder if I should go a little bit smaller so it will fit in there. Hold that thought, and I'm going to go look around. Okay, I think this is going to work out just well. I actually chose canvas that's a little bit smaller that will fit in the frame better, and you will be able to see what I am doing. Okay, so remember, we're doing Irena's Poppies. Okay, so we're going to do our background first, which means get your big brush out. And this background is pretty much yellow, white. It has a little bit of brown in it. Okay, so those are the things that I'm going to put on my palette. I'm using a paper plate as a palette. Or you can use whatever your heart desires. We have been using the paper plates as palettes without too much problem. Okay? So on my palette. Okay. So can you see that okay? Because I want to, because I'm going to actually mix my colors, I want to kind of make sure that I have enough to do the entire background. Okay, so I'm going to put out some yellow. And if you do not have brown, by the way, you do not have brown, mixing green and red will give you brown. Okay. A lot of times the paint will dry on the, just pull it off of there. And you can throw that away. Okay. I'm not going to put lots of yellow out there because I'm mostly going to mix it with white. And I picked some this kind of mustardy yellow in there as well. But you can also just react with, again, with a brown. Okay, so I'm going to put some brown out. Okay, where'd my brown go? Brown, no brown. Way over here, my brown went. Okay, let's see. Sorry. So a little bit of brown. You don't have to put a lot of brown out because brown is a very dark, it's a very rich color, certainly. Okay, so I'm just going to put just the dot of the brown out. Okay, and this brown tends to be a little bit really kind of thick. So I'm not going to put a lot of brown out. And how I decide how much I'm going to put out, first of all, like I said, I'm going to mix colors, and I want to make sure that I have enough to do the whole background. And the way I choose the colors is by looking at the picture. I see some really light areas in here. I see some kind of orangey browns in here. So maybe I even want a little red out there. Yes, why the heck not? All right, let's do it. Okay, and again, just a dab of the red. I don't imagine especially not for the background. When you get to the flowers, it'll be a different story. So here is my color palette. It's very, very sparse. The most paint I have on here is the white. Okay, so I'm going to take this white. I'm going to leave some of it over here because I want to put a little bit of a highlight in there. Then I'm going to take a little bit of my yellow and brown and mix it in there. And I'm going to take more yellow. Okay, so that's pretty light. I'm going to try a little bit of the red in there and see what that looks like. And actually, that's kind of pretty. I'm liking that. But definitely needing more yellow. I want it to be a nicer kind of yellower thing going on here. So now that I can actually see it, I'm thinking even more yellow. Okay, so I'm going to add just a little bit more yellow to this. See what happens. It's really kind of pinky. I think I added too much red to it. So how can I fix that? You know, I don't want to waste all my paint. Remember what I said, red and yellow makes kind of an orange. Okay, so I'm going to add some more yellow to my palette and then to my background here. Okay, and it could even be even more yellowy, but I'm going to try that. Okay, so that's what I have there. And if yours doesn't come out exactly the same, worry not. Okay, so I'm going to hold on to this, and I'm actually going to paint this on here. And I'll tell you, now that I'm painting it on here, I like it even better. Okay, so what I'm seeing here is it does have some red in it, which is giving it kind of an orange color. And I can see that I have mixed probably more than I need. That's okay. Let her go. Okay, so we want to do horizontal strokes. We want to do vertical strokes. Okay, so we want this on nice and smooth. And acrylic paints dry rather quickly. And if you are in a room that is either heated or air conditioned. You have air blowing around, which means that it's going to help the paint dry even faster. Okay, so using a wide brush, okay, will help you get your paint on there. Help you get it on there in a timely fashion, as my teacher used to say. Get it on there in a timely fashion, Joan, so that your paint won't all be dry. Okay, so I'm going to pick up some of this just the yellow, and while my paint is still wet, I'm going to blend in these yellows, because as I look at my handout over here, I see that orange yellow corners, and kind of exciting, kind of liking it. And we have a little bit of red here like this. So I get these kind of orangey edges, kind of cool. So this gives our background a little bit more interest in here. Okay, so let's pick up a little bit of brown in here. Okay, so a little bit of the brown going on over here. Right, I'm going to add it to this bottom. Take some yellow in there. Okay, so just you really, really want to play around here and get a nice, interesting background. This is kind of cool. I'm just so enjoying myself. Okay, I like this on this side. I'm going to turn this around and work on this side, because I don't like this side as much. So that means I need to work on it. Okay, picking up some red, because red and yellow makes orange in here. And they also have some brown going on over here. So actually what I'm doing is kind of mixing the paint right on the canvas or canvas board. Okay, that you're using. And you'll see that I'm going kind of around in an oval direction here, only because I want to pick up some of the whites, and I want there to be a highlight in the middle here. So that's where I'm going to put the lighter paint. Right? So like I say, the paint is still wet enough so I can blend it. For me, blending is key, because I don't want to see, okay, see how there's a line of demarcation now where you can see the one color ends and the other doesn't. I like them blended. I like them to blend. I like the highlight to start out nice and highlighty, and as it goes towards the ends, it looks absolutely marvelous. I'm going to go and get some orange paint. So if you don't have orange paint, mix red and yellow together until you get a shade of orange that you like. Okay, I'm actually going to go right to the orange, and I'm going to take some orange and put it right in these corners, only because I want it to be very kind of dramatic. Not traumatic, dramatic. Okay, and take some of my brown here on my brush, and put it over there. Okay, so when you put brown in something, you're kind of toning it down, if you will. Okay, a little more yellow in through here. Okay, yellow and brown. Yellow and brown. Okay, and in through here as well. Right? So now I'm getting that rich look I was kind of hoping for in the beginning there. I was just falling a little bit short of my goals. If you don't want it that dark, you don't have to have it that dark. You are the creator. And if you want it lighter, you can have it lighter. Okay. If I look at this picture, there's a lot of yellow going on over here, and a little bit of darker in the on the edges. So I'm liking that. I'm going to make it more yellowy by picking up yellow paint and just going around this perimeter once again. So adding yellow, lots of yellow. Right? So I'm getting a really kind of dramatic background here. Kind of cool, liking it, liking it. Okay, now it's nice and yellow. It's yellow, it's orange, it's brown. It is awesome. Okay, let's do that. Right, picking up a little bit more of the orange here, more of the yellow over here. Okay, so we're actually just creating on your canvas, all right? And I'm going to blend all of this in because right now you can see like a circle there. Okay, I'm going to pick up the white, right? And I'm going to put it right here where I want my highlight to be. Okay, and also blending in my edges. I have a lot of paint on my canvas, so my brush keeps filling up with paint. Okay, so wipe it off, wipe it off. Nice, nice. You know, still get excited when I see this working out the way I want it to work out. And going into another paper towel here. I told you, lots of paper towels. Okay, so what I'm doing is kind of blending out some of my lines in here. And again, I have a lot of paint on my brush, so I'm cleaning a lot of the paint off my brush, okay, which is simply called dry brushing. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of light up into here, like that. And then, and when I say bring some light, I'm picking up some white. Let's bring some down into here. Let's bring some over here. Let's bring some over here. Okay. So now this is what I have. Okay, it looks like, I don't know, no, you can't see it. Okay, so it's hard to just see background, but I'm liking what it looks like. Okay, so I'm going to take my brush and just very lightly, almost with a feather touch. Okay, let's see if I can get the whole picture in here. Okay, so with a very light and feathery touch, I'm just brushing out some of my brush strokes here. Okay. And again, this takes a feathery touch. Nice and soft. And I don't want to blend all of the white away. So I'm very lightly doing this. Light touch. Okay, and let's keep this light down here too. Nice. This is a what we call a warm picture because the colors in it tend to be on the warm side. We have yellows and reds and oranges. So this is a warm temperature colors. So let's let this stand for a moment. So if your painting is really wet and you have lots of coats of paint on it, stop the recording for a few minutes, like a real 2 minutes, and let it dry out a little bit. And then if it's not totally dried at that point, you can go ahead, you can add a little bit more light, you can add a little bit more yellow if you want to, but I'm just playing over here actually. Okay. This is what's going on. Okay, so let's take a look. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put some yellow. Okay, so I'm going to put some yellow. Okay, so darker colors going on around it, so we can emulate that a little bit. And this might even be a little bit darker still. Um, so that is quite all right for me. And I actually think, I think I might make it even a teensy bit yellower. Okay, so a little bit more yellow in here. And in order to do that, I need to put more yellow paint on my palette because I used it all. Okay, so I'm not going to put a lot, I'm just going to put a little. Right? And what I'm looking to do is get more yellow around this edge, maybe. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to add a little bit more white to my palette as well. Okay, and the white, I'm going to put it over here. You notice that the white containers are usually bigger than the other colors because we use an awful lot of white. We use lots and lots of white in pictures. Again, you can use it to highlight, you can use it to lighten a value or hue. And same thing with black, although you probably go for more white. That's okay. Whatever you need, whatever gets the job done. That's what I say. Okay, so I'm just, like I said, my painting is not dry, but it's not as wet as it was. So I'm actually able to brush in a little bit more highlight here, which is what I'm looking for, highlights in my background and knocking over my paints. So let's see here. But just a dab of orange in this brush. Okay, and my goal here again is to kind of blend these lines. I like things blended. Some people like a lot of texture, so there'll be a lot of paint texture and dabbing going on in their work. I like the blended look. Okay. So, and that's what art is all about, kind of getting what you want on the canvas, and knowing how to do that. So, I mean, when you take art lessons and whatnot, not so that you can emulate your art teacher or maybe a famous artist, although that would not be their goal either. It's to learn how to get what you want out on the canvas. This is what I have in my vision. How do I do that? Okay. So that's the fun part. That's the fun part, kids. The other part is, again, you are the creator. So you get to say how much yellow goes in this. You get to say how much white goes in this. You get to say how much orange goes in this. So, and I think I could be done here. I think that background could be done. When, how do you know when your background is done? How do you know when anything's done? How do you know when a picture is done? The answer is when you like it. Okay, regardless of how many people say, "Oh my God, that's beautiful. I can't believe you did that." And you're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, thank you." Yes, indeed. It's if you look at it and you think to yourself, "Well, it's nice, but," then it's not. Okay? So you are the one who decides that. So I'm looking at this background and I'm envisioning those flowers on it. And I'm liking that thought, that idea. So the next question is, where do we go from here? Now, I know the exciting thing is to start putting these flowers in. However, we need to know where to put the flowers. So we actually need to know what the stem was. At least as far as, this stem for this one, this stem for that one, this one for here, this one here. So we need to have an idea of where they're going. When you do an acrylic Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and put the greens in. I'm not going to put in this one because why? Because it's in front of this bloom or this flower head. All right, so if I were to put this in and then try to paint over it, I'd either have a line or it would merge with the green and come out brown. Remember that red and green makes brown, right? So for now, I'm going to put in most of the greens. Okay, this one you could possibly put in afterwards if you wanted to. This one way up here. So let's go ahead and put them in. Now, when I say let's go ahead and put them in, let's do this. I want to make some guidelines, but I want to make the guidelines with my paintbrush. So, have some of your hot cocoa right now. Take your green paint, okay, and I'm using this green paint that got from the dollar store. And even though it's acrylic paint, you know that old adage, you get what you pay for? Definitely true. So it's very thin and a little bit on the watery side. So it actually makes it perfect for doing guidelines, things that I don't want a really thick, huge guideline on my canvas. Okay, see how it's running and stuff. It's not a really high quality paint, but I do like the fact that I don't have to water down my paint. So you have a small detail brush, or if you have a small square head brush, that'll work also. So the big question is, where the heck do I put these now? Okay, so if I just, it doesn't have to come out exactly like this, but I like the idea that this is middle, like right about here, and this stem is not in the middle. It's just kind of to the, maybe starts out in the middle, but then kind of swings over here. So I'm going to very lightly start kind of in the middle. And I want this flower head to be like right here. So I'm going to come here and end up in the middle. Now, this is going to be probably the hardest part for students. Okay, can you see that? I want to pick up the canvas because it's so wet. Let me just move this closer for a second. So see the guideline, see how watery and thin it is. Okay. And that's because I made it that way on purpose, because if I don't like it, I don't have to live with it. Okay, I can change it, wipe it off of there. Okay, so that one. So now I'm thinking to myself, self, I want another one right here. It's going to overlap here like this. So I'm going to come up like this and about there. Okay. Right, so I have two main stems in here. I have one that's kind of crossing over here, like this, which I am going to put in, okay, like this. All right, so I have a stem there. I have kind of a big one going way up the top. There's a bloom right over here that the stem comes down here. It crisscrosses this little guy over here, comes all the way down. Okay, so that's quite a stem. All right, so I have some of that going on. Right, I have some, if this is my main stem, I have one right here that kind of comes up and down, because there's a bud over here. So I'm going to make that bud. Okay, and then again, I have this one that's coming up into this flower head. So again, I can make this come up, but only so far. I'm going to stop it because I'm thinking my flower head goes right here. So, is there some planning that goes on? Of course there is. All right, so now let me move this back so you get a whole picture here. Okay. Okay, here's the whole picture, the whole enchilada. All right. And there's a couple of leaves that are coming off the sides here that we can work with. And there's some foreground leaves over here as well. But we're looking for main stem work that's coming off of this canvas or on this canvas. Okay, so the main one is here, and that is this one right here. So we're going to have a large flower head here. There's another bud over here that's coming like off of here. All right. So I can put that in there. Right. And so this is very minimal at this point. You know, we kind of want to plan it out. Right. So now we're going to skip right over to our flower heads, and we will develop more of these greens afterwards. But we want to now place our flower heads. So we're going to take our white paint, which hopefully I didn't sit on. Oh, there we go. And I'm going to use maybe my medium brush. Find my medium brush. Okay, so I think so. Your mid-size brush or the medium-size brush. Okay, let's do that. And we're going to look over here, and what you're going to see is this kind of oval here. How big do I want the oval to be? And why am I doing it red? Okay, I need white. All right. So the reason I'm doing it white is to kind of prime the canvas here. I mean, I could do orange maybe. Let's see how dark that is. That's pretty dark. Okay. So what I think I will do is just kind of wet my brush a little bit. Put it in the orange. Let's skip over the white. And see where this is over here. It covers this whole area here, like this, right? Now this might take a little bit of courage to do, but just remember that there really is not a wrong way to do this. Okay, so we're going to bring this right all the way over here, right? And then it wants to come off of this one. So I'm going to follow the direction of the petals, which they come out this way, right? Coming out this way. And add a teensy bit of red here, because we're looking for a poppy red. Okay, red. So I have my red and orange close together. And I'm putting my brush in both places. And I'm just kind of drawing this out. Okay, so I'm looking here. Okay, and then doing this. While trying to hold on to my canvas, it's moving away from me. Okay. All right, so for right now, basically getting the shape of this is probably what's more important. And we have another petal coming down this way. So I'm actually looking at this picture as I go along, okay, and dipping in the red and the orange. Okay, and there is definitely another petal right here. Petal here. This petal, nice and smooth. And I'm going to dip into my brown over here, which I may need new brown. Definitely need new brown. Okay, so let's take some of our brown paint. Okay, and I didn't put a lot on this. Make sure you cover your paints when you're not using them, because that is how they dry out. Okay, so what I did is I just put a little bit of brown on this plate. And the reason that I did is because, see where this brownish red is under here? We need to do that as well. So we're going to dip into the red. And I'm going to just darken this a bit. Okay, so we have a nice dark hue. And now, underneath here is where I'm going to put it. Okay, and also here, okay, you start to see a flower. I'm telling you, it's exciting. Okay. This one comes out here, like this. Okay. And this little guy over here comes out like this and like this. Right, so we want that out here. So you're starting to see poppies. Okay, let's bring this out this way. Okay, so remember that your poppy middles are going to be on the dark side. On the dark side. Okay, and I guess I'm going to need that to dry out a little bit more. All right, so we have our really big poppy. Okay, this is the main poppy, if you will. Let's bring these in. It's out this way. Okay, so just kind of perfecting some of those shapes a little bit. I want this one to come out this way, right? So I'm thinking direction, certainly. I'm going to lengthen that petal a little bit. I'm going to bring this one out a little bit more and connect it to this one down here. Again, dipping in just the red and the orange here. Okay, so again, this brownish red color that's going on here, I'm just mixing the brown in with the red so that we get a deeper shade of red. And that's what's going to come out here from the center where there's a little bit of shadow going on. Okay. So that's looking pretty cool, I have to say. I'm happy at myself today. Okay, so I think I could go ahead and put a little bit of orange highlight on here. Yes, I didn't still have brown on my brush. So let's go ahead and clean that brush. Okay, so when I say I'm cleaning it, I'm trying to get the brown out, which is a pretty strong color. So I'm putting it in the water certainly and cleaning it that way. So I'm going to put a little highlight on here. This. So I'm going with just the orange at this point. And as soon as I said that, I dipped into my red. Okay, so I'm putting the red on here. Okay, nice red. And let's, the same as we did with the background, let's let this dry out just a tad. Okay, we have another flower up here. And I am going to start with the back petal, which is way up here. And again, I'm looking at this handout and I'm creating this. Right, we have a petal that comes out here, and then one that is in the front, which is connected to this guy over here. Have one that comes out here, and this guy comes way over to here. Okay. So here's this petal. We have a side petal. I want it to come from our stem, obviously. So you're using your stems as guidelines for sure. Let's So let's take a little bit of our red, mix it with a little bit of our brown again. And we want to be able to see these petals in here. So in order to do that, we need to show where one petal stops and the other one begins. Where one petal ends and the other one begins is what I meant to say. Okay, and there's a background kind of petal here. Okay, let's do a little bit of brown over here so we get changes in these petal formations. Gonna darken this baby. Okay, and the paint is still wet, so this brown, actually merging it or blending it right on the canvas. Yeah, the head actually looks pretty cool. Okay. So this little guy over here, let's give him a little bit more shape. All right, and I want that whole background petal to have a little bit of depth in there. So I am definitely going to make this a teensy bit darker in here, darker. Like this little guy over here. Let's put some darker here. Totally liking that. Okay, so let's smooth out some of that. I'm going to put a little bit more red on that guy. There we go. Very cool. So we want to see a little bit of highlight over here. So let's put in just a little highlight, and actually let's let that dry just a teensy bit. Okay, a little bit of a bud down here. Okay, and we're not going to do too much with this bud yet. Okay, we want to continue on up here. I think I can go a little darker in here. Okay, and again, you know, the first time I tried to put the darker on, I didn't quite want to go, which just basically because I have so much paint on the canvas. So just let it dry for a few seconds and then you'll get better results. Plus, we actually would like to get some highlights on these guys eventually. Okay, with still the small brush, because this is a smaller flower in here, right? And this stem actually doesn't have a stem. So we have this one, have a big one, which is going to be right here. So we didn't make a stem for this little guy. So let's go ahead, dip into our Chipola green, right? And I want the head to be right here. And I have to kind of do one of these. And I kind of like that greenish brownish color. Absolutely. Absolutely. Very cool. This actually should be coming out from over here. Duh, as they say. So we'll make this one something else. Okay. When in doubt, fix it. All right. Let's do this little guy over here. I'm using my smaller brush, smaller square head brush actually. Okay, because this is a relatively smaller flower head than what we've been working with. So once again, dipping into the red and the orange, okay, and just emulating a little bit here. Now, this flower actually comes a lot closer to here. That would set it up like right about here. So let's go ahead and change direction here. So this petal is here. Okay. Have another one coming off our side like this. this one is quite close. So let's make it bigger. Let us make it bigger, bigger. This guy is coming out this way. And we have one. Okay, so this is a pretty big one right here. Let's make that big. Okay, let's do this over here. Come out here and like this. Kind of scrubbing out that a little bit. All right, so this little guy, we're going to make him bigger in through here. Have him come out here like this. This one is coming out this way. So I'm going to take a little bit of my white, because remember now we have green underneath here. So I'm going to go through it with the white just to kind of prime it a little bit so that we can cover that white. We can cover that white with the colors that we want. Okay, so this one's going to do that. This one's going to do this. This one's going to do this and come out this way. Okay, so I'm going to give that a few seconds to dry a little bit, because what I've done is I've changed the position of this flower head, which means that I went through some of my green. Okay, so I'm going to just put some white on there to kind of cover it, and then we will go back to it. Okay. In the meantime, we have this big, beautiful bloom down here on the lower right. So I'm going to go back to my big brush here, and we are going to go through some of our green again. So maybe we can actually just, I want to put this one way over to here, isn't it? Here, but I'm changing the direction of it. So when I told you that we would be changing stuff around, little did you know, I meant it literally. Okay, so I just have a Q-tip here, and I'm lightening some of this green here. Okay, but remember that, you know, this is very, this paint is very permanent. Okay, so if we need to, we'll do the same thing with this that we did to the other. So I can do some white over it. And I'm thinking I probably can get down there heavy enough. Okay, so I'm looking up here. Okay, I'm holding it up here. That so you can see. And I'm looking here. I'm going to put a blue there. One here. Okay, so really just looking at the basic shape of these petals. Okay, and then from the bottom, we're going up. Okay, so that's pretty cool, Poppy. Okay, so the back ones are going to have a little bit of highlight in them. So I'm going to actually get some of my yellow and pull that in there. Okay. And now that we have this little bit of highlight in here, let's perfect these edges just a little bit here. Nice and smooth. Okay, and this little guy over here, it's perfect. Perfect. Let's bring this up this way. Okay, and this one is coming up here. Okay, give your paint a few seconds to dry out. Okay, so if you need to let some of your whited out areas dry a little bit, then by all means go ahead and stop the recording and let that happen. Okay, I am going to go ahead and continue these blooms right here. And I have to say, I like this picture. I'm like, this is kind of cool. In case you haven't guessed, this is the first time I'm doing this picture. I'm going to take a smaller brush. If I can find a clean smaller brush. Okay, and dry it. And going to do the same thing. See these areas in here, these darker areas? That's absolutely what you need. You need to create the contrast here. So the way that I'm creating the contrast is I'm taking my red and adding a little bit of brown to it. Remember that brown will kind of dust any color that you use it with, and keeping an eye over here. Right there, the teeniest bit of darker color, and let me go darker in through here, and that's what's kind of giving us our base there. Plus, we can see where one bloom kind of ends, one petal, I should say, kind of ends, and the other one begins because there's a color contrast here. Okay, so I'm going to put some of that in here. Let me see, some down here at the bottom of this petal. So I'm going to put some here, and it's going to waft over into this one like this. So I'm going to pull it out, remembering to kind of keep the direction of our petals in mind. Okay, picking up a little bit of the orange so that I can add some highlights. Okay, gonna go back into this dark brown red mixture that I created. Okay, and I'm going to give myself this petal over here. Let's see what we can do. Okay, so this is kind of coming up the side here. And if you look at your handout, you can probably see it better than I can explain it, but you'll be able to see where you want the dark areas to go. Okay, so I'm going to overlap this a little bit, bring this one out and about in here. Nice. I have to tell you, I just like so excited here. I have been painting for a good many years, painting and or drawing for lots of years, been teaching it for a lot of years as well. And it's still exciting to see a picture start to come to life. So you never quite lose that excitement. Okay, let's get a little going on over here. Okay, so basically just kind of looking at the handout and seeing where the petals are headed. Okay, so this one, I'm going to bring it down here like this. This one I'm going to bring up like this. Okay. Little highlight here. And I'm going to go back up here because now this flower is actually dry enough for me to actually add highlights too. Okay, so I'm actually going to dip into my kind of orangey red color and then my yellow, and I'm going to get a much lighter value here. So if you look at this handout, you can see there are a lot of light values in here. So now I can go ahead and put those in. Not quite as light as I'd hoped for. Going to take a tiny bit of white and lighten this up even more right there. Okay, some yellow. Yellow doesn't quite do it on its own. So let's add a teensy bit of white here. That actually does do it. So we have quite a bit of yellow coming out over here. We have some hanging out over here. Let's bring our highlights here. Definitely have highlight over here. So this flower is now dry enough for us to actually play with a little bit and get some cool highlights on there. We do like our highlights. Okay, so I'm gonna go darker here because I want the highlights over there. Go darker there. And I'm just using the red, not the brownish red, just the deep red. Okay, let's come here. This. Yay. Okay. This one I'm kind of liking the way that it is. So I'm just going to take the teensiest bit of my yellowy highlight here and just bring it right along this edge. And at this point, just kind of dabbing a little bit to just bring in some of the light. Okay, I don't want to do too much. Over here, I'm going to add the light here, here, and I'm looking at my highlight. I'm looking at my handout in order to do this. Okay, there's quite a bit of light there and there. Okay, let's put a little light right there. That's kind of cool. I have to say. I want to do a little bit more work on this guy, and in order to do so, I'm definitely going to switch to my larger brush. However, I also need more red paint. Okay, our poppies are kind of reddish, orangey color. I think of it as a tomato kind of color. A lot of people call it coral. Some people call, on the jars, sometimes it's labeled as vermilion. So whatever you want to call it, that's the color you want. Okay, I'm going to put that in there. This, I really waited for it to dry out a little because this was the one that I had drawn. I had painted with. I had to put a bit of white paint on there to prime it, and that works well. So now that it's dried, we can go ahead and play with it. Okay, so again, looking at the handout, right? This comes down like this. It sweeps down like this. Down the middle like that. This piece comes out the side and like this. And this guy just kind of swings around here. This this part of the petal is actually folded under. So if you're wondering how we do that, wonder no longer, because once again, we're using our brown stretch. All right, so I have red in here and brown, right? And what it does is it makes kind of a Tuscan red, a really brownish deep hue of the red. Okay, so I want to get this under here certainly so that we can see the difference in the petals, but also going to put it under here with this kind of folds over. It's going to fold over the petal for me. I also want this to give some direction as well. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit under this rim. We're going to create a little bit of a rim here. Okay, because this particular bloom or flower is cupped. It's kind of like a cup, but it's away from us. It's pointed away from us. this actually comes down over here a little bit more. So I'm going to increase that. Okay, so I'm thinking about where I want this to kind of go. Right. So I'm going to use my smallest detail brush in here to actually create this little fold right here. So I'm going to pick up mostly yellow and a little bit of white, okay, because I'm looking for, I want to highlight this piece right here. So it looks like a fold. Okay, so let's darken this slightly. I'm going to pick up a little teensy bit of white. Fold this right over, like so. And a teensy bit of the brownish red. And I am going to go right under here. Okay. Okay, remember that when we darken this part, right, we create a fold. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool that we can do that. Okay. Oh, very cool. Okay, so I'm going to take this small brush and the same way I put highlights in some of the others, I'm going to put a little bit of highlight in that, which it may not quite be. Let's see if it's dry enough for me to do that. A little bit of highlight here. Okay, and if it's not dry enough for you to do that, let it sit for a second. A little bit of my orange here, because that's a little bit too whitish. So okay. So I think what I'm going to end up doing is letting that dry out just a teensy bit. And then maybe do a little bit more highlighting. But for right now, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so let's work in that fold just a little bit. Okay, so we have a nice little fold going on. You see that? There's a little fold in the petal. Right? So that looks pretty good. Right? We have another bud over here, which is actually at the end of this guy. So I'm actually just going to dip in my red and my yellow with my small brush. And just going to put a little spot there. Okay, only because we're going to have green. We're going to have greens around them. Okay, I have another little guy going on over here, which we already kind of started, but I kind of want to finish. So I'm thinking here. Let's see what we got. I'm liking it. Very exciting. Okay. Every time I go to put my brushes in the water, I hit the wires on the computer, which is what I'm recording on. Okay. I think, let's see, I'm not sure. This will actually have been working on this for about an hour and a half. You might want to do this let this be one of a two-part series. Okay, let me see here. We'll see. Let me see if I can get a little bit more orange on here before I stop. Orange, orange. Mucho better. Now we're liking you. Yeah, that's better. Okay. That makes me feel better. I was like, this guy is a little bit different than all the rest for some reason. But now we're doing better. Okay. Well, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and call this part one, only because we have a lot of STEM work to do in here. And like most people, I'm on kind of a schedule. So I'm going to go ahead and call this part one. And then part two, we will do STEM work, right? Which will probably take us about an hour or so, okay, depending on how it goes here. So in the meantime, all right, happy painting. And again, we'll do a part two here. It'll be very exciting. And I have to say, I was hoping that this painting would come out good because the person that I'd like to give it to is like my sister from another mister. So she's very important to me. So this is what I have so far. Okay, and I would like to, I know usually always try to stay within a couple hours, that type of thing, but see, look. Like I said, even after all these years, I still get excited. Okay, so let's call this Irena's Poppies, part one, and then we'll do Irena's Poppies, part two, and broadcast them together. So you can do them all at once if you want to. And again, feel free to grab some friends, have your own fun and paint party. And if you're not comfortable doing that in person, do it on Facebook Live. You can Zoom it. There's a number of ways to kind of get together and partay. Okay, I am definitely not only the queen of bling, but of partay. Someone said to me, "No, that you're kind of retired. What have you? Do you still set goals for yourself? What does that look like?" And I said, "My goal in life is to have more fun today than I had yesterday, every single day." Okay, so that's a job in itself. Okay, so we like to partay. Okay, so I will see you in part two. Until then, be legendary, my friends. Bye for now.